DwnShifters. Thanks for tuning in. This is our second episode of our video blog documenting our life on the road. So when we left you last, we were camped out in Virginia, and so that's where we'll pick up again with our evening starting right after we finished our first video. So what happened then, Jess?
Yeah, shortly after our first video, we had set up for bed and were settling in for a movie night and got a knock on the door, which were the local police.
Yes.
We had parked in a right outside of Natural Bridge, Virginia, which is a landmark and a really cool place to visit, which we did visit.
Yes, highly recommend that.
Yeah, but that evening we had found through iOverlander that you could talk to the hotel that's right by the actual visitor center and the park itself, and that often they were really accommodating for folks either by opening up their bus lot or even parking spaces on their hotel grounds. And we stopped in. The reception staff were really helpful, offered us a parking pass and said it was totally fine for us to park in the back lot. So we did that. We had the parking pass displayed on our rearview mirror and settled in for the evening, filmed the video, and then apparently there was a little breakdown in communication, and we were at the creepy van in the back of the parking lot for several hours. So the change of shift, the message must have not moved over, and so the police came to make sure that everything was all right. And it was actually a pretty quick and easy clear up and interaction. Yeah, like about the same time that we were explaining what was going on and what we had been given permission to do, that same message was being relayed over radio to another officer. So it was a really quick thanks, have a good evening, y'all experience, and hopefully if we do have experiences like that in the future, they will similarly be ones where we've done our due diligence and gotten the credentials we need to be where we are, and cleanly we will all walk away and be fine with the rest of our evening. But yeah, it was a fun little first interaction with officers while living in a van.
Yep. So do your due diligence and make sure that you get permits if you need, or get permission. And then it's also helpful to be wearing clothes. So thank God we were wearing clothes.
Wearing clothes or having quick access to identification or things that you're going to be asked for. Like, some of that stuff you may keep in your cab, and if you're living in your cabin and that's where you are when the interaction happens, it's good to know where those materials are and already have prepared sort of your script of how you're going to explain, yes, I live in a van.
Yeah. So that was exciting. Went off without a hitch, which was nice. So the next morning we went to Natural Bridge. I don't know if I think it's a state park in Virginia, and just a really beautiful experience. We went first thing in the morning. You see the pictures as I'm talking about this. Scale of impressive, and going early in the morning was really nice because there wasn't a lot of crowds. So if you're in the neighborhood, definitely stop by.
Yeah, I was really, really impressed with the size, and again, it was a beautiful day that day, so you'll see that in our photographs.
Yep.
Really excellent first stop of the day. Way to get things started.
Gorgeous. And so from there we went from Virginia and down to Clater Lake, which is just north of the North Carolina border on the south side of the edge of Virginia, and stayed there overnight. So it was another state park that we stayed in, Virginia State Park. And it was nice too. I don't know if I would recommend it, going out of your way to stay there, but the amenities were nice, the weather was good, and then we ended up going on a nice evening hike.
Yeah, we got there with a little bit of time before sunset, and so took a quick little hike through some scrubby pine material, and then some really beautiful like poplar, hilly areas that were surrounded by what I guess is Claytor Lake. We definitely saw a lot of deer, and enjoyed running around with Sebastian, our dog. He's a great hiker and really enjoys following a trail. So it was a good way to end the day. And then, like some of the places that we've stayed, they had an area to grill on, which we definitely used that evening, as well as bathrooms, showers, heated showers, which was really nice. Yep. But yeah, we kind of blazed through Virginia and most of the East Coast on our way to North Carolina.
Our next stop.
Our goal was to get there to meet up with my family. I grew up in the Western North Carolina area, and we wanted to arrive there in time to celebrate the holidays with my family. So we worked our way through Boone, which is a beautiful area of North Carolina, saw little bits and pieces of Pisgah, but didn't end up staying anywhere in North Carolina until we got to Asheville proper, which is an awesome city in Western North Carolina, right in the Blue Ridge Mountains.
Great beer.
Great beer, great food, and while it's rather hilly, we did find great places to park both downtown and then locally at my parents' house.
Yes. So while we were there, we got to spend time with family. It was really nice to see everybody. Thank you so much for the hospitality. And good food there, great conversations, fun times moving a piano. And then we also got to do some stuff in the van too. So there's always chores to do. I mean, something that I certainly didn't think of before we started is that you're constantly cleaning. It's such a small space. There's so much foot traffic. We sweep at least twice a day, probably more than that. And then just every drawer, like you just have to keep going through drawers. We keep working through stuff, and so just a lot of organization, reducing things that we either aren't using, putting things into long-term storage, moving things to short-term storage, just a lot of that kind of management. While we were there also, we had purchased something that was shipped to Jess's parents' house that allowed us to attach our in-house batteries to the alternator, which has made our lives a lot easier since the installation of that gadget. So, something that happens is when there isn't a lot of sun, or you're in the shade, or the weather isn't cooperating, it can be a real morale ding to not have power. And so being able to drive and to recharge your batteries even when the weather stinks has made just a world of difference since the installation. So that's something that we did while we were there. Oh, and then your dad was kind enough to buff out some scratches on the side of the van, which was just so appreciated and touching, and I loved that he was not taking no for an answer on this. So it was a really nice trip, and it was really great to see everyone. We were there for maybe 5 days or so, and then we moved on. So when we moved on from North Carolina, we traveled south into South Carolina.
Yeah, we took a really beautiful route into South Carolina through an area called the Mountain Bridge Wilderness area. We didn't take any stops, but I imagine there have got to be some really awesome overlooks there. The drive itself was just amazing. We were coming through all of these like twists and turns and winds and curves.
And the fall foliage was still changing there.
Yeah.
So it's still really beautiful colors, and just the carpet of leaves on the forest floor was just gorgeous.
Yeah. I would love to go back there again, but definitely recommend looking into that area just because it was so stunning to even just drive through. Our destination after North Carolina was an area in South Carolina called Table Rock. So we were able to find a campground at Table Rock proper.
It's a state park.
It's a state park, and while there was nothing incredibly special about the park itself, it does bring you incredibly close to the Table Rock Trail. And there are a couple of different trails, but we did want to go there to see Table Rock itself and to hike to it. And so we had a really
to beat it.
Yeah, to beat it.
We wanted to beat it. Yeah.
And I think we succeeded.
We killed it.
We killed it. It's a 7 mile in and out, mostly uphill or upstairs.
On the way in hike.
Yeah. And several beautiful views on the way up. I was really happy that we were doing this in the fall instead of the summer. There are a lot of warnings to hikers to make sure they're bringing enough water, which I can only imagine how important that is in more humid, warmer times. But really gorgeous hike on a really beautiful day, and we got some really great shots from Table Rock itself. Had a lovely sandwich lunch, and I did not lose my phone, but I got pretty close to it at one point. And
feet from the edge of Table Rock.
Yeah.
And then I had some new hiking boots that I really loved. That I was breaking in on that trail. It was kind of a bad time to break in new hiking boots, but they were great, and I'm definitely going to review them at a later date. So we went from Table Rock and then went from there to Greenville, South Carolina, which was a city that I had never been to. Most of the South is new territory for me because I grew up in Montana. But Greenville was lovely. We have a dear friend there that we had to spend time with. I got to do a little bit of business for an exciting project that I'm now working on. And yeah, we just really enjoyed the downtown area. I think it's really revitalized. They did a lot of work around this river and falls area. That's just sort of downtown proper. That's just gorgeous, and there's a lot of activity around it, and it was great.
Yeah, I was really surprised. I had not spent a lot of time in downtown Greenville. Even though I lived very close to it growing up, and really enjoyed seeing the river and falls. There's a really neat suspension bridge that kind of gives you a gorgeous view of those. Cantilever bridge, thank you. As it goes through the heart of the downtown area. And yeah, also enjoyed good beer there. North Carolina, Western North Carolina has a lot of amazing breweries, but they're also trying to up their game in South Carolina, so we enjoyed some more good beer there.
Yeah.
And
coffee. We had some good coffee there too.
Yeah.
So parking. So we were primarily urban boondocking there, and had good luck in the downtown area. I think there's enough activity there that people aren't suspicious of a vehicle that's parked there overnight. A strategy that we've been using that we like a lot is to park near hotels. Because we have an oversized vehicle, they're generally not going to fit inside the parking garage that's provided. So if you can park right next to the hotel, usually a lot of times, as long as it's not their designated lot, but on the street in front of the hotel or near the hotel, we've had a lot of success with that, and we've used it a few times. A few times actually in Greenville, where we sort of parked across the street in that other area downtown by the courthouse. That was across the street from a hotel too. So, don't camp out there. Don't stay there for a lot of nights, but just a quick overnight and move on. Has been really successful for us. So.
Yeah, we're actually talking about doing an episode just about parking later. It's been one of the biggest challenges is to find like where we routed for the day or the evening, and it's been interesting to realize how much more comfortable we are in urban spaces versus more rural spaces. So
Yep, totally.
Stay tuned for that at a later date.
I think that's because there's more breweries in urban areas too.
that is also a perk.
Yeah, totally. All right, so moving on. So from Greensville, we drove in the evening to Athens and stayed overnight in Athens. We really liked Athens. We're going to talk about a few highlights of that, though, on our second trip to Athens, because we went there twice.
Yeah.
So we stayed overnight in Athens, right near the university, which was another great place to park when you have to park somewhere overnight, because there's just so many cars moving around all the time. And then we ended up in Atlanta. Atlanta is somewhere that Jess lived for 5 years in a previous lifetime, like 10 years ago, longer than that. And so it's changed quite a bit since she was there. So we ended up having a really positive experience. For me, I think a lot of that was because of the fact that we were there in December. So it was the weather was just absolutely perfect for me as a visit then.
Yeah, I'll say me too. As far as Georgia goes, yeah, I lived in Atlanta for 5 years, but I didn't really explore it, and so it was really fun to see Athens, but also go back to Atlanta with my partner and like experience things with new eyes and just see how the city has changed.
Yeah.
I saw a lot more local art. There's the development of the Beltline, which was really interesting to take a peek at in different places in the city and see the art that's kind of exploded around there. Mm-hmm. And then we found some really great coffee shops.
Yeah, Park Grounds
was a place that we spent a lot of time near Cabbagetown, which is a really cute little neighborhood. And then Park Grounds itself is a place that offers like breakfasts and sandwiches, great coffee, beer, and then they have the part of their amenities is that they have a dog lot. So if you have a pup, you can sit down with your beverage of choice and enjoy some free Wi-Fi and let your dog run around as well.
Yeah, food was good. It was great, and staff was awesome. So yeah, totally thumbs up. And we were there for like 4 days in a row, so yeah it was great.
In Atlanta, we were meeting up with some friends of ours, so we got to have some dinners at home, which was really fun with some of our friends, and catch up and see how kids are growing up and how our lives are on slightly different courses, but we're all pursuing things that we're really excited about. And then we also went to the Georgia Aquarium.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Georgia Aquarium was good. We went with a special ticket price that started after a certain time. I think it was after 4 p.m. So some of the exhibitions were closed, which was a little disappointing. We did get this amazing behind-the-scenes tour, which wasn't offered because of the late purchase ticket. It was because they're now doing holiday events, and so some of the things that were closed, the staff was actually offering some behind-the-scenes tours, sort of in lieu of seeing some of the exhibits that were open. So we got a behind-the-scenes tour from this guy named Art, who was just amazing, super knowledgeable, incredibly friendly, and it was just really cool. You can see from the pictures to see sort of what the staff sees when they're working at the museum.
Yeah, and I also got to learn that most of the folks working there are volunteers, which is really fun because you're getting to talk to people who are incredibly passionate and nerd out on the creatures that you're getting to see or the environments that you're looking at. And I think while it was a little disappointing, what exhibits weren't like in full availability, like some of them I think it's because they use natural light, and so it was actually in the evening and it's winter, and so the days are shorter, and so these creatures were actually getting a break from having a spotlight on them all day. So while we didn't get to see everybody in the easiest to see light, it was also I appreciated that as far as an animal being asked to be in the spotlight all the time. I respect that.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Animals need breaks for sure. I mean, they shouldn't be like performing anyway, but that's a different story. So from Atlanta, we went back to Athens. Athens, we had a couple of days there. Went to a couple of bars that we really liked. One called the Church, and the other called the Manhattan Cafe or Club Cafe, Manhattan Cafe, and just they're really great places. It's definitely a college town. There's a lot of totally like broy college bars, but there's also some really nice kind of off the beaten path places to go. I highly recommend the church. Just kind of funny, a lot of tongue in cheek, super accommodating. And then Manhattan Cafe was had great cocktails and a really, really great environment.
Yeah, Manhattan has created their own ginger ale, which is
the best ever.
Amazing. It's really spicy. It gets you like right in the back of your nose, and so it takes any cocktail that you have to a whole new level. And it's very exclusively distributed in only certain parts of Georgia, mostly in Athens area. But we really, really enjoyed it.
Okay. Yeah. Amazing. Have it. So we went from Athens to Savannah. I have a sister in Savannah. Savannah was a really nice town. Our first introduction was at night on a balmy evening with really strong paper mill, the wood pulp smell. So it will remain with us for a while. But Savannah's a really beautiful town.
It's really easy to navigate. It's one of the, I think, first planned cities. So it's in the U.S. So it's a grid and super easy to know where you parked or where you're going.
And it created a lot of great green spaces there. We spent a lot of time around Forsyth Park. A great coffee shop, the Sentient Bean, which became our home while we were there. And then our home away from home was spending time with my sister and her husband and my niece and nephew. Which was really a treat too. So it was great to see them, and super appreciative of the laundry and the showers and all of that stuff, and that was great. And then for me, the highlight of the East Coast in Georgia on the shore was Jekyll Island, and specifically Driftwood Beach, which was just this unbelievably beautiful place. They were setting up for a wedding there. But just gorgeous pictures, as you can see. And we did a bike ride around the island, which was 14, 16 miles, something like that, which was great.
Yeah, so we blazed through a bunch of states, and obviously had a lot of really cool stop-offs, but we've also been having a bunch of different experiences on the road that we thought might be helpful to talk about. One is that we're still building our home, and so we realize that means we're spending a lot of time shopping. We've spent a lot of time inside of Best Buys, inside of Home Depots still. Those are places I feel like we go to on a weekly basis still at this point. But we're still
even grocery stores. Like we're still still figuring out sort of like what the meal routine is. What ingredients we need to have. What really are the staples? What are the special things? It's like we're still figuring that stuff out. So I think we're finding almost every day, but certainly every other day, that we need something from the grocery store. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
absolutely. So yeah, it's been a lot of shopping in between all of the sightseeing, but that may just be a new part of having a really small fridge and really depending on a lot of items that are in our home. One of the things that we also got to do is stop at families' homes twice during this trip, and that gave us the opportunity to do some really important work on our van. Like, those are places that we feel secure enough to have everything open, pull everything out. We don't necessarily need to move within 24 hours or have a checkout time like we do at campgrounds. And so that's given us the space that we need to do some really important work, like installing the car link or doing some installations of clasps or hooks or other items that just help make this this whole operation work more smoothly.
Yeah. Yes. I don't have anything to add to that. I totally agree with that. Yeah.
We also have had started one of our first like big financial conversations, which we're not going to get into in too much detail right now, but are planning future episodes on like our finances and how we think about those, how we've learned more about what actual van life on the road is like versus what we maybe estimated it would be, and so we'll dig into those fun details at a later time. And then otherwise, we've still been experiencing, until the installation of the car link, we were still learning a lot about the amount of power that we had and how much we needed to get through a day. So that's why we shouted out a lot of great coffee shops and places to work, because those were really integral to our winter trip where we were experiencing low sunlight and didn't always have a lot of power coming into our solar panels.
I mean, it's also nice just to have a change of scenery, but a lot of times though we are relying on a coffee shop or something just for not using our restroom all the time, because you have to empty it because we have a dry composting toilet. And then energy consumption, so it's nice to charge our devices on someone else's dime and not on our batteries. And then Wi-Fi too. So our Wi-Fi has been surprisingly robust, and I'm really pretty satisfied with it. We'll go into an episode about our communications down the road, but there are times that it can be spotty, and so we rely for money on being able to communicate and have video conference calls and stuff, and so coffee shops can be really helpful for those kind of things. So and then just morale, like being in the van all the time is tough, and it's raining right now, so we've been in the van for over 24 hours now, and it's not supposed to stop rain. It's supposed to stop rain tomorrow around 1 p.m. or something. So
we got in a nice bike ride, but it was raining.
Yeah, we went on a bike ride in the rain. But so having a coffee shop or something can be really helpful for just change of scenery, a different thing to sit on, people to look at. That's really nice. So, what else was on here that we wanted to talk about?
I think that's all for today. We covered Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, which was a lot of territory. I hope you enjoy those amazing photos. But we also want to thank you all for watching our videos and for all the feedback you've been sharing. I think it's been incredibly helpful in us understanding what you're interested in and how we can learn to be better communicators on video, which is not our natural profession.
No, it's horribly uncomfortable. But there were some really good suggestions, and the suggestions that you gave, you may have been a little disappointed that you didn't see them in this episode, but the reality is that we sort of had all of the collateral for this episode already before we released the first video blog. So we have been sort of documenting those things that people have been suggesting, things that they would like to see, and we're really thankful for that. And if you have other things that you think would make this more entertaining to watch or more valuable for you, leave us a comment. Make sure that you subscribe. We have this subscribe button that's over in that corner. And if you're not following us on Instagram or Facebook, you can do that at DwnShifters with no O, DWN, DwnShifters on Facebook and Instagram. So thank you. We're in Florida now, and so you'll be seeing a lot of Florida in the next episode. So take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Nice job, Jess. Credits. It's all right. So what was so funny?
Okay.
You gonna make it?
Yes.
Are you sure? I haven't seen you laugh like that in very long.
Yeah, I have not laughed like that in a while.